Hello friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Juno. I'll be showing you how to make this slitted top. So there are two ways in which you can achieve this slitted top, so watch to the end to find out how. So I'll be using a leftover fabric. The bottom of the fabric has been sewn already, so I won't be adding seam allowance to the hem. So I'll just measure from the shoulder down to the bottom. So I will still lose the folded part later because I'll be using lining. I intend just leaving it like that, but I changed my mind. I decided to use lining. Okay, so for the method I'm using for this the slit, to achieve the slit, I decide to use the lining. But if I was using the second method, or rather the first one, I wouldn't be needing the lining and I would have just left it like that. Okay, so I measured from the bottom. So I measured 30 inches, right? And then I marked my shoulder, and then my shoulder slope is 1.5, and I came up half inch. Okay, so from that 1.5 you mark your bust line. Your bust line, remember, is bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, right? So from that part you go back to your shoulder and then extend, mark what you have down to that bust line so that you can get a straight line. So that is what I did here. And then you marked, use your ruler to square across, get your straight line, that's your bust line. And then from your shoulder you mark your waistline, and then from the waistline you mark your hip line. Okay, so that is just what is needed. Those are the basic measurements, right? That's the vertical measurement. Okay, so the length of this blouse is 30 inches, right? So because it's up way below, it goes below your hip. Okay, so if do well to just use the measurement, the length you want. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm marking my measurement. So I just added half inch to my normal measurement, right? My bust, waist and hip. So because I don't really have enough fabric, I just folded it into 4, right? And then I connect from the shoulder tip slope to my bust line. So this fabric is 1 yard, right? So I just folded it into 4. So I'm cutting everything, so I don't have luxury of allowance, so I'll just manage what I have. Okay, so I'll be doing a dart at the back because I just want that little fitting at the back. I don't want it straight up, right? So I'm marking my dart allowance. So I use my bust span on my waistline. I came down 6 inches on that same waistline. I came up 6 inches, and then I'm confirming the bust span measurement, which is 8 divided by 2, right? And then you use your straight ruler, you connect from the dart leg from the waist down to the waist up, right? And then you connect your dart leg. Okay, so this is for the back back part of the top, right? And then I'll add back my 1 inch allowance. You can see I'm adding it on the waistline. Then I connected the back to the hip line and then to the bust line. So I really don't have enough enough space, so I'm just managing the allowance I have. Then I added my half inch allowance on the sleeve, on the side, and then on the neckline. So I'll be doing 1 inch, so it's 3 by 1 for the back. So this is the back neckline, 3 by 1, and the front will be 3 by 3, right? Because it's a high neck. And then you use your ruler and then you connect from that your neckline to your shoulder slope. Okay, yeah, from the neckline to your shoulder slope. And then I'm adding my seam allowance, sewing seam allowance. I'm also adding it to the front, to the neckline. Okay, so I went ahead to cut on my seam lines, right? Remember, this is the back, so it's 1 inch. I've not cut the front. So what I'm doing now, I'm pinning the down part of, I'm pinning the dart. Okay, so I just need that I want to mark it on the other side of the fabric. Okay, so that when I'm sewing my dart, it will be on both sides of the back, right? And then I came down on the neck, on the shoulder tip, half inch. I'm trying to get my neckline. Remember, we already marked 1 inch out already. Okay, so I'm coming down 3 inches, and then and then I added my neckline seam allowance for the front, and I'm cutting from the neckline. Okay, so you cut it out, and then I notch the side of the waist side, so that when I'm joining the back and the front, I won't be confused as to which part of the waist. So for the front, I'm not sewing a dart for the front. Remember, I already added a 1 inch to our measurement, so I'm cutting out the dart side, the dart allowance on the waistline, connected from the waist to the hip and waist to the bust line. So that is the 1 inch I took out. Okay, so on my dart leg now, I needed that dart leg measurement on the front part, because that is what I'll be using to cut the slit. Okay, now this is two ways you can do this. So you can slash this part from using your bust palm, that's your dart leg. You can draw a straight line to your neckline, okay, and then you slit it completely, you slash it out, and then you sew like you're sewing your zip. And then when you get to the part where you want it to end, you just fold it inside like a zip allowance. Okay, like the zip, like the slit at the back of your skirt. That was one way, but I didn't do that. I stopped around, I just came up 9 inch and I stopped there. And for the back, I slashed the neckline for the back. It's high neck, so it will be able to pass through my head. Okay, and I came down 4 inches from the neckline to the back, so I'll be doing a button at the back. Okay, so those are the two easy ways. So what I need to do now is to cut my measurement. That was what I did next. I cut my lining, sorry, and then I used the fabric to cut my lining. I will just be sewing the 1/2 inch, because there's actually no much allowance. That is why I didn't do the other type. And this one, I still even took out a little bit of allowance, so after sewing, I didn't have much allowance left. Okay, so what I'm doing now is joining the bottom part. So I first of all sew the hem to the lining, and then I now folded it up. Okay, and what you need to do is to pin. If you don't pin, you'll get it wrong. The slit didn't get to the top of the neckline. You just stop 9 inch from the waist, from the hemline down towards the waist part. Okay, so I use paper stay. Yeah, I use paper stay. I just cut a strip out of it to because the lining is the lining is very soft, so I used the normal aba lining. Okay, it's very soft, it's not the strongest, so I still have, it's a leftover, so that's why I decided to use it. And then you sew the lining, you sew the stay. You can iron it, but I didn't iron, I just placed it, after which I will still iron, and then you sew it. So when I sew it, it didn't show, I didn't sew on 1/2 inch on the other side, so I had to turn it and then sew. Please, when you get to the tip of make sure you turn it like a V. You're sewing it like a V. Okay, so this is one way. Like I said, the other way is if you slash it to your neck, you just sew it, and then on the side where your slit will end, you just fold it inside like you're folding your zip allowance. Okay, like you're folding your slit after sewing your zip, okay, at the back of your top. So that is what I did, after which I use the paper stay on the neckline, also neckline, and then I top stitch the neckline for the front. I also do the same to the back. So for the back, after sewing the slit in front, make sure you notch it to the tip, but don't notch through, please, so you'll be able to turn it neatly. Okay, so I did this is the front. After sewing the neckline, and then I notched it, and then I'll iron it. So for the back, I cut a tiny strip and I placed it, that will be my button loop, right? And then I placed it on the right side. Then I'll use my lining to cover it, so the lining will be inside later, and then the strip will come out as my button loop, right? And then for the lining, I also cut a lining. The back does not have joining, but this lining was not enough, so I had to join it. So there is no joining at the line on the lining. So when you're cutting your lining, you cut your lining straight. You only slash the neck part where your button will be. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. I now placed it, and then I'll sew the neckline. After sewing the neckline, and then I'll now sew the slashed parts. Okay, and that I will do the same thing to the other side. So after sewing the neckline, what you need to do is to fold the neckline in, and then sew it down to the slitted part, and then you turn it again. You turn it, and then you sew. What I did, I left that down part, and then I went back to the neckline of the other side, and I sew it down, so I'll be able to fold it in, right? And you sew it on your line. If you're not getting it, please do well to turn to the other side. Okay, so all you need to do is just to make sure you sew it rightly. Okay, so after sewing, you do the same thing, you notch. Okay, after notching, and then you flip it in, then your button loop will be out. Okay, so what you need to do is to iron and then fix your button around the neckline, so you don't need a zipper. Okay, but if you want to do a zip, why not? I don't have enough fabric, so I just manage what I have. Okay, and then I remember to sew the down before the neckline, please. So I've sewn the down, I sew the neckline, right? So this is the front for the slitted front, for the front, the slitted front, and then this is the back. So what I will do next is just to join the both shoulders, and then join both sides, and then attach my sleeve. Meanwhile, I'm going to attach my button. Okay, because I have my button loop, I'm going to sew my button. Okay, so what I'm doing is just to join both sides, shoulder to shoulder, use the lining to turn, and then sew the side. And that is it, guys. If you know you've not subscribed to this channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you want me to illustrate any style, please do well to leave or send a message on Instagram. Okay.